So I've had the S23 Ultra for quite a while now, so it's time for a review. This is the Galaxy S23 Ultra. This is Samsung's flagship phone. Long live the Snout. Galaxy Snout will not die as long as I'm around. So first impressions, this design is pretty much the same as the S22 Ultra. It has the same sort of styling. It's got the flat bottom and top. It has the cameras in the back and the same sort of setup and layout. Looks very, very similar to the S22 Ultra from last year. I think it's a great design personally. It's a great looking phone. And I was able to get it in the color that I wanted, which is this red, which isn't red. It's orange. The body of this phone, while it looks similar, there is some differences to it. The sides here are flatter than the S22 Ultra, which were more rounded. The screen on the S22 also had a bigger curve. This one has a smaller curve and is a little bit more flat. Dare I say it, it's easier to hold and maybe less susceptible to being dropped. Overall, it's a really nice design. Fingers crossed we'll get a design next year with a completely flat display, no curves. The front and back glass is Gorilla Glass Victus 2, a really durable and strong glass used on this phone. It's known for not being hard to shatter, hard to break, but it does come with a trade-off that you will get micro scratches and things like that on it, so you might want to consider picking up a screen protector. And One UI 5 is the latest iteration of One UI for the Samsung phones, but we'll talk about that a bit later. So let's do a hardware recap. 6.8-inch AMOLED display, 120 Hz. It's a really, really good display. Same display as last year, 1715 nits of peak brightness. So yeah, not bad. It got the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 4nm chip. It's a big change to the Samsung lineup, I will say, but again, we'll talk about that a bit later. Storage options, I upgraded this to the 512 for free. When I ordered this from Samsung, they offered me the 512 for the 256 gig model. Happy days, I'll take that, thank you very kindly. 45 watt fast wired charging out of the box, although you will have to buy the adapter, it won't come with it. 15 watt wireless charging, standard stuff. IP68 water resistant. Cameras, we have the 200 megapixel main sensor, 12 megapixel ultra wide, we have the 10 megapixel telephoto and the 10 megapixel periscope telephoto lens as well. So cameras are well stacked. The front camera is a 12 megapixel, which is down from last year, but can still take good 4K at 60 video and can still take really good portrait shots. So again, not too shabby. Batteries 5000 milliamp hours, same as last year. Big battery, but again, we'll talk more about the battery a bit later. As of the S22 Ultra, the S Pen was a standard feature. Anybody that had the Note series of phones, you'll be familiar with it. The pen goes inside the phone. It's a great job. Response time of the pen is 2.8 milliseconds, which is phenomenal for all the size of it. And when you're writing on the screen, it feels like paper. It's a really good, really good experience. If you like this phone, then you should really like this video, because, you know, if you like this video, then you like this phone. You know what I'm saying? So if you haven't already, smash that like button for me. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button and ring that little bell to be notified of videos just like this one. And if you don't, well then you clearly don't like the S23 Ultra, and shame on you. So let's talk pros and cons. We'll start with the pros. First off, the design. I love the design of it. It's unique. You know exactly what it is from the get-go. It's instantly recognizable. The cameras in the back, that flattened, the flat top design, as I like to call it. It's a great design. It's a great looking phone, and it feels much nicer to hold than the previous version as well. So what's not to love? Display, 120 Hz AMOLED display. It is silky smooth. It is such a real good display. Especially with the improvements in One UI, those animations are just sleeker, they're smooth, it's like putting a knife through butter. It's just so good. 1750 nits of peak brightness as well, so it's the screen is really bright, it's got good vibrant colors, and if you're out in the daylight as well, you're going to be able to see the display. It's really good. It's the same as the display from last year, but that's not a bad thing. It was a really good display then, it's a really good display now, so if it's not broke, don't fix it. Fingerprint reader. ultrasonic fingerprint scanner in the phones, which has been present since the S21 Ultra, have been best in class on in-display fingerprint readers. There's no debating about that. You touch the display, your phone is unlocked, and it reads you instantly. It is fantastic, and because of that, I don't even use the face unlock on this phone, because it's, you know, why would you? It's just not that good, and the fingerprint is just flawless every time. Cameras on this phone, I will say, are pretty great. Photographs and portrait mode especially are really good on this phone. The image processing, Samsung has really put their work into it. And you know, photography is a subjective topic. You know, what I would class as a good photograph, some other people wouldn't class as a good photograph, and things like that there. But I'll be honest, I've had no issues with the photographs and the quality that have been taken on this phone. Absolutely not. It's been really good. Battery life. Who would have thought that anybody would be saying battery life was a pro on a Samsung flagship device? Not me, because that's exactly what this is. Using this phone for weeks now, this phone has learned my usage, and it's unbelievable. If you'd have told me last year that you would get a Samsung flagship that would get you over 8 hours of screen on time, I'd have told you were crazy. Absolutely not. But yeah, this is really good. It's really good. You know, we're talking iPhone Pro Max levels of battery life here. We're finally starting to see that gap getting closed, and I'm here for it. That segues into my last pro, which will be the chip. This Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is absolutely fantastic. It is just, it's powerful, it's efficient, it doesn't run warm. What more need be said? Now, last year in the UK, having Exynos on the S22 Ultra, man, it was never going to be hard to try and better that. That was a really bad chip. It was poor performing, it ran really warm, the battery life was absolutely shocking. Samsung have made the right decision in going Snapdragon this year for every phone across every region, and you need to be commended for that, guys, because you haven't tried to phone it in and put a lesser chip into some regions. You've done everything across the board, and it will pay off for you, because this is really good. You know, last year, issues with performance and heat and battery life, that isn't present here this time. We have this upgraded chip, we have upgraded camera sensors, we have better optimization in One UI, and it really does show. You know, our animations are silky smooth, and the performance is there, and the battery life is there, and that is all down to the Snapdragon chip. So yeah, top mark Samsung for actually putting this into every phone and giving everybody the same experience. I've been using this with maximum display resolution, 5G, cameras, photos, videos. I've been using it solid, and yeah, it's performing really well. Top notch. For the first time, I don't have a massive list of cons for a Samsung flagship device, which is kind of unusual for me. So, but sadly, there is a couple of things which I will mention as part of my experience. So yeah, let's get into them. First one, shutter lag. Yeah, shutter lag. It's still here. While the still photos and portrait modes are all really good, if you want to capture a moving image, no bueno. You're not going to get a good moving image, you're going to get a blurry image. Even with the tips and tricks of using the camera assistant to increase the shutter speed and things like that, it still doesn't really have that good of effect. So if you are wanting to maybe get moving shots of your kids if they're out playing, or you're wanting to get a shot of the dog out on a run, or capturing a car or whatever, you're going to struggle with the shutter lag. There's still work to be done here, Sammy. That then leads into the 4K video. While the camera is good, the video side of things, the color profiles just aren't quite right, and the stabilization, it's just not where it needs to be. Not for this price of a phone. That needs to be better. There's definitely still work to be done there for the video. I'm not really going to talk about 8K video because, in my honest opinion, 90% of people will never ever use it, and the remaining amount of people won't even have the display capable of properly appreciating 8K video. So I'm not even going to talk about it, if I'm honest. And lastly, I'm not sure if this is really a con, but it was a pretty bad experience for me, and it's the S Pen. For some strange reason this year, I take the S Pen out and it does not connect to the phone. So the likes of the touch features are all work fine. So if I'm taking notes or if I'm just using it to touch the display, that's all fine. The likes of the air gestures and the camera remote, for example, every time I take the pen out, it waits for ages to connect to the phone and then doesn't connect. It comes up on the screen, cannot connect the S Pen. I then have to go into the settings, manually connect it every time, and it's really frustrating. I personally find the S Pen a bit of a novelty thing anyway. Every time I get one of these devices, I play with it for a day and a half, and then I put it back in the phone and I forget about it, and I really seldom use it. The only time I ever would use it would be if I'm trying to use it as a camera remote, and every time I've tried to use it, it hasn't worked. So I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure if it's really a con, because I'm sure it's a subjective thing as well. However, it is one of the things that hasn't really worked well for me, and I just thought I would mention it. Conclusion. Would I recommend the S23 Ultra? Yeah, I would. And here's why. Samsung has massively fixed the issues that the S23 Ultra had, especially with the Exynos versions in the likes of the UK and some other markets in Europe. Exynos was an absolute dumpster fire of a chip. The performance was bad, its thermals were bad, its battery optimization was bad. That for me just ruined that device for me. The S22 Ultra last year was it was a device I couldn't wait to get rid of because it was just so average, it was so poor. I know in the likes of the US there was Snapdragon versions which were a little bit better, but my experience was really bad. I feel Samsung with the S23 have sat down and went, you know what, we know there's issues, so let's fix them. And I think Samsung have to be commended for that, because it's very un-Samsung-like. Samsung like to just sort of crack on and push on and throw more things into phones and, you know, not really care about the optimization and the software experience and that kind of thing. And I kind of feel it sort of ruins the experience for me personally as a tech enthusiast, as someone who likes to try all this different types of tech and things like that. I always find it kind of ruins it for me, and it sours me on these things. This time I feel differently, because personally for me, for a flagship phone, you need three things. You need a good display, you need good performance, and you need good battery life. And for the first time in quite a while, a Samsung flagship has all three of those things. There's no more of this 2 out of 3 ain't bad scenario. This has all three of those things. How's that? That can't be a bad thing. For me personally, yes, I would recommend the S23 Ultra. Not to mention, here in the UK, Samsung are offering £600 for your Exynos S22 Ultra as a trade-in. Now, if you were to sell that privately, you wouldn't get that money for it. You really wouldn't. My honest opinion, if you have one, chop it into Samsung, get it in, pick up an S23 Ultra, and you will get the phone that you should have got last year. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Have you picked up an S23 Ultra, or are you thinking about picking up an S23 Ultra? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Let me know your experiences as well. Did you have a bad experience with the S22 Ultra? If so, let me know as well down in the comment. That about wraps it up for this video, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button for me. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button and ring that little bell to be notified of new videos just like this one. Keep it locked to the channel, guys. I have more tech reviews and accessories coming to the channel. As always, I have a massive lineup of stuff in the works. I also do have a couple of other different types of videos coming up, so watch this space, and fingers crossed that everything comes together the way I would like it to, and I'll be able to bring you something a little bit different. So watch this space. So if that sounds like a bit of you, keep it locked to Michael's Tech Talk for more. And until the next one, guys, I'll catch you later.